Good morning, everyone. My name is Susan McDonald, and I'm happy to welcome all of you to our UU Fellowship Sunday morning service. Whether you're here in person or joining on Zoom, you know, because we tell you every week, that you are welcome, just as you are. No matter where you come from, no matter your religious background or lack of one, no matter your education or your income level, no matter your gender identity or who you love, we're grateful you're here and know that you're loved and welcome. Today and every day, especially after we've been privileged to take part in the moving celebrations of life and death here in San Miguel, we remember that we live on the ancestral lands of the Chichimeca, Otomi, and Nahua peoples. You will have noticed that this is not Malcolm. The order of service does not reflect that Malcolm was not up to 100% this morning. So Paula was wonderfully available to play for us today. We hope you've been receiving and reading the information being sent out about the 35 and Thriving anniversary events happening through November and December. A little bit later in the service, Robin Loving will fill us in on how everything is progressing and remind you about the many opportunities to participate in all the fundraising events. Now, I'd like to invite any and all visitors, whether here in the Aldea or on Zoom, to let us know you're here. If you're on Zoom, you can type your name and where you're from into the chat box and stay connected for a social hour afterwards. If you're a visitor here in the Aldea, please stand if you're able and want to, or raise your hand. We'd like to take a moment to look around and notice you, and then get to know you if you can stop at the coffee and refreshments table after service. So we have several on this side. We would ordinarily have everybody introduce themselves, but we find that that takes a little too much time. You'll get to know Craig. Thank you. I have just a few announcements to add. If you're downstairs after the service, look for Diana Akisian, who I have not seen, but she's probably here. There's Diana, who will be selling raffle tickets to benefit Libros para Todos, one of the wonderful NGOs that our fellowship supports. Diana is a steward for Libros para Todos and will happily sell you a ticket or more. They're just 50 pesos each, so buy lots of them. The raffle prize is an exquisite quilt, truly a work of art, donated by the San Miguel Quilters and valued at $750 US. All proceeds will benefit Libros para Todos, whose emphasis is on providing educational opportunities for kids in rural communities. The raffle takes place December 11th at Geek and Coffee's annual Bazaar Navideño. And an important announcement from our fellowship's nomination committee. They've started meeting in preparation for making nominations to fill vacancies on the board of directors, the nominating committee, and the endowment committee. These positions will be voted on, at the March 2023 annual meeting. So if you have suggestions of members who you think would be good candidates to fill the vacancies, or if you yourself would like to be considered, contact a member of the nominating committee at your earliest convenience. You can find their names in our newsletter. And if you have questions today, John Simsarian, who is the chair of the nominating committee right here in the back, will be downstairs, I hope, yes? And you can talk with him about that process too. Thanks, John. And remember, you'll find information in the order of service and on the website about many events and groups sponsored by the fellowship, and about how to access the YouTube channel for prior services, including this one, and information on how to be a member. Before I end, I would like to add a few personal words about our guest minister today, Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano. When Tom mentioned to Kathy and me a few months back that Reverend Craig would be in San Miguel and would lead a service here, I was muy emocionada, very excited. You see, I first met Craig when I became a member of the UU congregation in Princeton, New Jersey back in 2012 or so. I don't know if he was already thinking about entering seminary or whether it was not yet a gleam in his eye, but everything about Reverend Craig's charismatic personality and his gifts screamed future awesome UU minister. At the Princeton congregation, he served as a youth group leader for many years in our very active religious education program, including leading them in creating youth-led services, holiday skits, and creating meaningful coming-of-age and bridging ceremonies. He later became our congregation's assistant minister, and for a few years, we got to see much more of him during our usual Sunday services, getting a taste of the kind of ordained minister he would become. I think all of us here today will be so glad that we're here and that we have the chance to meet Reverend Rubano and hear what I imagine will be his wonderful words about the one constant in all of our lives, change. We hate it and we sometimes welcome it, but it's always going to come. Thank you so much and enjoy the service.
Muy buenos días. Les traigo saludos de la congregación unitaria universalista del condado costal más norteña del estado de Nueva Jersey, el condado Monmouth. Me da mucho gusto estar con ustedes esta mañana. I bring warm greetings from the northernmost coastal pocket of New Jersey, from the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. I'm grateful to have this time together with you this morning. On my mind these days is change. The changes we work for, the changes unasked for. On the one hand, the sense that nothing stays the same long enough for us to feel secure. And on the other, the feeling that some things can't change fast enough for our comfort. How do we situate ourselves to be resilient in the face of change? How can congregational community enhance that resilience? If the past 2 years and 8 months have taught us anything, it is that, as the title of this morning's service indicates, everything must change. I invite us into a time of worship with the word worship used in its original definition, a shaping concern for all that is of worth. Our call to worship comes to us from the Reverend Dr. David Breeden, senior minister at the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Change is. It's the only constant, and all that change is. It's the passing of things. It is the passing of all things, change is. It is the becoming of all. It is a parade, this change is. It is a dance, this change is. It is the river and the stepping that's never twice. It is the tragedy of all that was, this change is. It is the fear of all that is, this change is. It is the hope of what may yet be, this constant, this change. This ice to water, this day to eternity. Come to the river. Step, step, step. Come, let us worship together.
Can you hear me now? Make a little noise in the other room if you can. Okay. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Tom Rossiello, minister of this fellowship. And right now, as you know, I'm in the space where our children have their religious education program. Beside me is Ann Geyer, one of the leaders of our children's program. And I so miss having our children in our worship space with us, being able to share a story with them and have them come together with us as we light our chalice. I know it's a long time ago, but do you remember what we would do in each service before the kids left? They would light a lantern from the flame that we lit in our chalice and carry that light with them to light their chalice here in their space. And we would sing them on their way. Each Sunday, we were connected with each other by the light. Well, because of COVID restrictions, we cannot do that yet, and we're still rebuilding our children's program. But we can do the reverse. That is, we can light a chalice in our children's space and bring the light to our chalice in our adult space. With me today is Jerome, one of the members of our RE program here, and unfortunately a couple of our regular kids had to go out of town today, but we may have a few more that'll come in a little bit later. But we're going to have a special kids chalice lighting with gestures that some of you may know. Doing them with our kids when we can is a way to affirm our connection to each other. But we're also the kids at heart. So today, Ann and I are going to say the words and lead you in the gestures, both in English and in Spanish. And whether you're in the other room, or in another country, or whether you're 9 or 90, please join in being part of this by making the gestures with us, so we can get in good practice when we can all join together and do them all together. Now, Jerome, would you come light our chalice? Thank you. Thank you so much. And all these, we've got some other children joining us. Please come right in and join us. We're going to do some gestures together, so just please come right in. Please come right in. Sí. Okay. All right. Here we go, and you can all follow it, and we'll do it in Spanish, okay? We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism, so make 2 U's with your hands.
You like that? Sí, you, U. 2 U's, uno en cada mano. Bueno, ok. Iluminamos este cáliz para celebrar el unitario universalismo.
Is the place of the open mind.
Este es el lugar de la mente abierta.
This is the place of the helping hand.
Este es el lugar de las manos que ayudan.
This is the place of the loving heart.
Este es el lugar del corazón amoroso.
Together, we care for each other, for the earth, and we work for friendship and peace in the world.
Juntos nos cuidamos unos a otros por la tierra y trabajamos por la amistad y la paz en nuestro mundo.
And now, as I carry a spark of the light from this flame to light our adult chalice, we go back to Craig to introduce and lead us in our opening hymn.
Ahorita el ministro Tom va a llevar este llama de nuestro cáliz a la santuario, a la servicio de dominical. ¿Ok? Y nosotros nos quedamos acá. ¿Sale? Ok.
And thank you for your help.
To get ready to join our voices together for our welcoming hymn, one likely new to you. It's number 289 in our hymnal, Creative Love, Our Thanks We Give. I think its words are important for us to hear this morning, for the world is as of yet incomplete. and we are a part of making it, changing it to be more welcoming, more sustainable, and more just. I invite us to stand as we are willing and able. Words will appear on the screen. Paula will play it through once to acquaint us with the melody. Number 289.
And I invite you all to join together in reciting the fellowship's covenant. I'll read in English, and then Reverend Rubano will lead us in the Spanish version. Oh, and the words are on the screen. Of course, you know that. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a very sacred time in our service, when members and friends share significant joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community. As each is shared, we light a candle symbolizing that person, that thought, that prayer is held in community by all of us here this morning and all of us on Zoom as well. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like shared in a future service, please email it to me, if possible, by Friday of the week before. If you're on Zoom this morning and have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like to share, you may type it into the chat now. Our first candle is lit by Kate Greenaway and Don Kraft, who have a huge joy to share. Many of you know that they've been working closely with their son, a brain injury survivor who struggled with mental illness, addiction, and street life issues for many years. They are relieved and grateful to report that he has successfully settled in a supported housing arrangement and has found a job he loves, and that he is finding joy in the responsibilities and in the opportunities of his new safe life. And the joy goes further. Kate and Don are right now en route to Mexico City and plan to spend the whole winter here in San Miguel, and they want to thank everyone who's been so supportive of their 18-month journey with their son. We light this candle for Hugh Tomlinson, who I believe is actually having surgery to repair a hernia this morning, also as we're gathered here. So we send him our healing thoughts, prayers, and best wishes for a very, very speedy recovery. This next one is a joy from Ellie Goodwin and many others of you who took part in a wonderful community event yesterday. It's a joy for a successful yard sale yesterday that was produced by Misérables, one of our women's groups, assisted by generous donors and very diligent helpers at the sale, and supported by many customers, including hosts of UUs. This was actually the kickoff event for our 35-year anniversary fun, FUN and FUND raising events. And it was really fun. And it was intended to raise a couple $100 was its goal, and it raised $1,200, about 6 times as much. So a candle of joy. A candle of concern and hope for the elections in the U.S. today. Many of you, the elections on Tuesday, many of you had thoughts. Let me just say, we can summarize it in that we hope they are safe, they are fair, they are just, and everyone's rights, especially those whose rights are often denied, are respected and increased. As we've been doing each week since the beginning of the war, we light our blue and yellow candle for all those who have been affected by the unprovoked and unjust war in Ukraine. And as we do every week, we light a final candle for those joys, sorrows, and concerns that are held deep in our hearts, but remain unspoken this morning.
I invite us further into meditation and prayer. I have some words for us to meditate on, and then we will sing together a prayer we know well, Fuente de Amor, Spirit of Life, first in English, then in Spanish. It's number 123, if you want to have that at the ready. The words will be on the screen. But for now, please make yourselves comfortable in your seats. Take a deep breath or two. And hear these words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley, co-minister of Foothills Unitarian Church in Fort Collins, Colorado. Open the door of your hesitant heart. Let the light shine on all the sleeping shadows. Awaken to this day that offers itself to you and to all with a great extravagance. Awaken to this gift, this beauty, this chance that we might still begin again and anew, that we might be changed by the in and out of breath, that we might still burst forth like the crocuses, that we might still surprise this earth with a new song, sung together, calling us all in and then sending us back out, and that we might know it all as a blessing. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en lo mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arraígame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Amén.
Good morning. I'm Robin Loving, and it's great to be with each of you here and on Zoom. We are 35 and thriving, thanks to you here, online, and away. Thank you. As I hope you're aware, and certainly will be, we are celebrating our 35th anniversary as a fellowship, and we're doing this with a series of fundraisers designed to bring us together in community, ours and the larger communities of which we are a part. Some of our 35th anniversary events are free, like the Miss Hermana's yard sale yesterday that was so much fun. All proceeds from these delightful events will go into a general fund so that we as a congregation can determine where they go when we members vote next spring. There's been a lot made of the fact that we are on budget at this year at this point, but their forecast might be that we don't have as much to give next year to the community. These events, as well as whatever you put into the basket, whatever you do to fulfill your pledge, will go into that fund that I just mentioned. Whether that goes into our reserves, which we had to tap into last year, or into social action grants for which we are famous, oh my goodness, award-winning famous, or the administration or whatever, today as we pass the baskets, virtually or in person, will help us do what we as a congregation decide to do in the spring. Where would any of us be without this social, spiritual, action-oriented community? I'm going to tell you that I am almost twice 35, and when I visited Earl Campbell's church in Austin, they said something I'm going to share. I want to bear my witness today that I am thriving in great part because of our fellowship, and I thank you for that. Please, today, change the future in a very positive way by giving what you can to our different areas. This is your choice. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. No one goes unchanged. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds will fly. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds will fly. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. No one goes unchanged. Winter turns to spring. A wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds will fly. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and music makes me cry.
Everything Must Change is a song written in the early 70s by jazz musician and composer Bernard Aigner. But its title embodies what has been a held tenet since at least the 6th century before the Common Era, when the Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "The only constant in life is change." But then and now, that doesn't make change any easier to cope with, or for that matter, any easier to accomplish. When I finished my PhD in 2019, I had 3 goals for change in my life. First, I wanted to read more novels. I'd been reading nothing but what my dissertation dictated, and reading is really my first love. Second, I wanted to get more singing in my life. It had been 7 years since I had last given a concert, and I missed having that way of expressing myself. And third, I wanted to get a life, to widen my social circle. Everybody I knew from school graduated, and I found myself in Princeton rather than in New York City, where my friends were located. Then, as I contemplating implementing my decided upon changes, I was reminded that change doesn't always depend on me when COVID upended my world. I did read more novels than I had at any point in my life, and that's saying something. But the singing and the life, the new friends, well, those had to wait a bit, like 2 years. This summer, however, I began to put those plans into action. Among my expanding social circle, I made 2 new friends in Tom Rosiello and Malcolm Halliday, who led me to understand that I needed to experience a certain magical place in the world. And what magic this week has been in San Miguel, with all of its beauty added to by a celebration of life and death as part of the cycle of change that makes the world possible. And I started working on singing. That's when I rediscovered Aigner's beautiful song. And it seemed to speak directly to me, as good songs often do. On the one hand, in a changing world, there is so precious little upon which one can rely. And on the other hand, but for the ability to make a choice, to enact change, where would we be? I don't want to short shrift that last sentence. At the core of what it is to be a human being is an ability unseen in the billions of years history of the universe, the human ability to choose, to change. At the end of Aigner's song, after the remembered dependability of sun and rain, themselves not as reliable as they used to be, and the whimsical notion that, after all, hummingbirds will keep flying, it is to music itself that Aigner comes for surety. Music still makes him cry. The communal art form of music, someone to create it and someone to take it in, is one of the things that makes life worth living together. For tears of pain are made more bearable, and tears of joy more thrilling when they are shared. We enacted just such a communal project earlier with singing together, and just now with our joys and concerns. Community is where we are drawn into something greater than ourselves, where the circles of our concern are able to be drawn wider, and where we strengthen the resilience to make or adapt to change when that is hard to do. The great lesson to me during the height of the pandemic was that while it didn't help my social life much, it drew me further into Unitarian Universalism. I was reminded again and again that our creedless religious movement of seekers, in particular, lends itself to the sort of community that makes change possible, bearable, and life-giving. For rather than subscribing to a changeless creed, we covenant to affirm and promote one another and that which is larger than any one of us. And we do so many times in the face of wildly differing personal agendas. UU congregations, while perhaps racially or culturally less heterogeneous than the population at large, are actually hugely diverse collections of individuals, each with their own belief system, assumptions, and goals. And yet, we worship together. We attend with a shaping love to what is of worth in this world, together. Unitarian Universalism is a unique experiment in pluralistic religious community, and it's difficult work. Proto-Unitarian Michael Servetus burned at the stake by order of John Calvin, wrote in a 1553 treatise, "It is harder to love than to believe." Believing alike is more easily achievable, at least among small groups of people. Believers are often held together by adherence to a creed, a statement in writing, and frequently read aloud, listing required faith tenets. Loving alike is harder, for such loving exists not in the beliefs of individuals' hearts. Loving arises from choices made in the heart. Choices often expressed in a covenant, a set of mutually agreed upon promises for right relationships, for intended actions in community. And while distance from creedal adherence often means disbarment from the group, slippage from covenant is baked in, always anticipated. Part of covenantal structure is an allowance for being called back in to covenant with love. Each Unitarian Universalist community is in covenant with the larger UU Association of Congregations, the UUA. At the top of the second article of the UUA bylaws, right after Article 1 establishes the name of the association, are the so far 7 principles, language of which begins, "We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote," and the principles. Importantly, at the end of Article 2 is a statement of clarification. "Nothing herein shall be deemed to infringe upon individual freedom of belief, which is inherent in the Universalist and Unitarian heritages, or to conflict with any statement of purpose, covenant, or bond of union used by any congregation, unless such is used as a creedal test." Covenant and creed are thus very different things. In fact, creeds, by expressed definition at the heart of UUA bylaws, are held to be in breach of covenant. Creeds can prevent change, for belief is rooted in the way things have always been. Covenant encourages change, for it is rooted in the trust and love created by a community which knows it must grow and change in order to remain vital. It is no wonder then that the UUA is at present, with input from across the movement, contemplating a major set of changes in the principles, in the way our covenant is conceived, all in the hope that we might be encouraged to work for change, to work for ending racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions, to draw the circles of our concern wide and wider still, all through a lens of communal love. UU Minister Lisa Ward describes covenant as the framework for our relating. A covenant leaves room for chance and change. It is humble toward evolution. It claims, "I will abide with you in this common endeavor, be present as best I can in our becoming." This calls for levels of trust, courage, and sacrifice that need to be nurtured, renewed, and affirmed on a regular basis. Covenant is not about you or about me. Covenant is about community. Ward goes on to delineate the differences between a creed and a covenant. A creed creates static truth, something that does not incorporate new insights and realities. A covenant is a dance of co-creation, keeping in step with one another in the flow of our lives. A creed seeks uniformity and a unison voice. A covenant seeks harmony and a shared voice. Sometimes we may arrive at a unison, but it is not required. A creed gives authority to the statement. A covenant gives authority to shared intention. A creed creates an us and them. A covenant invites relationship. A creed is a prescription that must be relied on. A covenant relies on the treasures of shared truth. Covenant, then, a vehicle of co-creation, shared voice, shared intention, shared relationship, shared truth. Covenant emphasizes the power of we. We need each other. And it takes all of us to be the us we aspire to be. As we sang in our welcoming hymn, since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we yet shall be, the goal may ever shine afar. The will to reach it makes us free. Do we have the will to reach the goals we choose to embrace? Do we have the capacity to live into the covenantal love our faith asks of us? In the face of change, can we set aside the creedal adherence to the way things have been, which of course may have been of great benefit to any one of us individually or to the projects we embrace? And instead, can we choose to change? To live into a spirit of imagination that approaches those goals we, the collective, choose to embrace? In closing, the story of a farmer who grew excellent quality corn. Every year they won the award for the best grown corn. One year in a newspaper interview, it emerged that the farmer shared their seed corn with neighboring farms. How can you afford to share your best seed corn when your neighbors are entering corn in competition with yours each year? A reporter asked. The farmer replied, "Do you not know? The wind picks up pollen from ripening corn and swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn." So it is with our lives. Those who want to live meaningfully must help enrich the lives of others, sometimes in what may at first appear to be against their own best individual interests. For the meaning of a life can be measured by the lives it touches. And the welfare of each is bound up with the welfare of all. The changes we make together will yield, at the very least, the community to sustain us when the world changes overnight. Change is not easy. Not easy to make, and not easy to endure. But we have as the central tools of our shared identities as Unitarian Universalists the ability to bulwark one another step by step, to move boldly into futures where we are the broadest collection of people we know how to be with in communion. We have the privilege to hold one another in the face of the changes that seem to rob us of our independence. We, this community, can be the music that makes us cry, that makes us soar, that moves us beyond what has been to what can be. And we can be so because at the center of who we are the promises that keep us whole. May it be so for us all, my new circle of friends. And amen. I invite us to stand as we are willing and able and to join our voices together in song for hymn 168, One More Step. 168 in your hymnals.
Seated. First, I want to thank Craig for such a wonderful service and for coming down to sing it out. And I want to thank all of you for again being here. Our crowds continue to grow here, and our numbers continue to grow on Zoom. So wherever you are, whether it's Zoom or in the room, thank you for being here, and we hope you will be with us again next week. And after the service, either on Zoom or outdoors for coffee, there'll be a time to share, talk about the service, talk about all sorts of things. So we hope you'll be there for that too. We have a lot of reminders that I want to just bring to you at the end of our service. First, you heard that we have started our 35 and Thrive intense series of events. The first was the wonderfully successful yard sale. The next coming up is the Gone to the Dogs celebration, which I understand is all sold out now, but that's 60 people signed up for that. But there's always the chance to participate in the incredible auction that's going to come up starting on that same day, November 11th, going through December, with incredible items to pick. And it's both online and it will start in person at the Gone to the Dogs event. You folks have generally donated incredible artworks, incredible vacation homes, dinners, tote bags, binoculars, cameras, clothing, coffee makers, jewelry, lessons, meals, rugs, and much, much more. So be ready to bid. As I said, many of them will be on display at the Gone to the Dogs event if you're there, but you won't miss out because you can also see it all online, okay? Robin Loving still could use some more volunteer help for many of the events coming up, so if you'd like to do that, please be in touch with her. There's some other sign-ups over here that you can take a look at. By the way, if you signed up for Gone to the Dogs and you didn't get a confirmation from Deanna Amaya, you want to email her right away to check on that. Another event coming up is the karaoke and joke night at Katrina's Cantina, where Jürgen and Margot and I will also perform a little bit. I pulled out my book of you jokes, so I think you're going to be subjected to those. Also, if you've loved the cookies here and wonder how you could make them, you have a chance. Nora and Don Zealot and Mis Mujeres with 2 U's will be doing 2 cooking baking classes coming up as one of the 35 anniversaries. Judith Denya has a book signing at Cafe later this month of her new book. There's the Sanctorum Sounds Bar and Margarita Party, quite a combination, that Jürgen will be hosting. You can sign up for that. The December 20th, I believe it's December 20th event, which is candlelight caroling, cookies and cake. We can take 100 people for that, and the sign-up's going fast, so if you want to be part of that, go ahead and sign up at the table or online. And while you're signing up for all these events, who's got one on? Margot, are you here with your t-shirt? Come. Robin, did you see these wonderful t-shirts? One can be yours, 35 and Thrive. And the sign up is over there. Thank you to all of you. Such a huge portion of our fellowship has been participating in these events, been expressing their generosity in increasing amounts. Thank you for the time and the talent and the treasures. Thank you for what you're doing to continue to grow and change this magnificent community. We are 35 and thriving. Thank you so much. And now Craig will share our benediction.
Okay. For our benediction, words by presidential inaugural poet Amanda Gorton, taken from a piece of hers entitled Change Sings. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is hope where my change sings. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and my smarts. Take a knee to take a stand. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings. I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. We are the wave starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long. We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along? Before we extinguish our chalice, for stepping in at extremely last moment and including accompanying me in my own sung reading, I want to thank again Paula Peace. We extinguish our chalice flame. With every ending, may we carry with us the breadth of vision that has brought us to this place of possibility. Let us go in peace to change ourselves and to change the world.